good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time you're watching this. Welcome to Pace the Podcast, where we give you one step of wisdom for the long journey ahead. I am your host, Jordan, and today I have a special guest and a reoccurring guest with me, Joel Diaz. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. It's awesome.
Man, I'm so excited. It's episode 1, and if you guys haven't seen, I sent a video out like 2 days ago where I gave you guys a little sneak peek, a little hint. I'm going to ask you that question I asked them. Where is the grass greener, Joel?
Where's the grass greener? Oh, so we're going to get right into it, huh?
We're getting right into it.
Okay, let's go. Okay, where's the grass greener? Well, someone once told me that the grass was much greener on the other side.
Okay. So, someone told me one time that the grass is not always greener on the other side. There's some other sayings too, like the grass is greener where you water it. And actually, I had someone respond to that question I asked. They said the grass is green where it's fertile. So there's a lot of different answers. So I want to change up the question. And this is going to be our topic for today is, where is the grass greenest?
Where's the grass greenest? That's a good question. Well, if you're asking me personally, I would say the grass is greenest, right where you are, because you can only control, the moment that you're in. So we can go through life contemplating, worrying, or stressing about the future, or we can just be in the moment, enjoy the moments, enjoy the wins, the losses, the ties, what have you. Whatever it is, that you're experiencing in life, whether it's sorrow, whether it's joy, find happiness in God and, the things that God has placed for you in your life, because if you really think about it deep down inside, I'm sure you'll find there's a lot of things that we can be thankful for, and oftentimes, I guess, we could find ourselves, wanting more or looking at other things, but, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And so, like I said, this is going to be our topic today, where's the grass the greenest? But I do want to take a couple short sayings that people have, and we're going to kind of go through those. So number 1 is, grass is greener on the other side. And if you don't know this, I actually looked it up. That saying actually came from a Greek poet in the 1st century BC. And as I was researching that, I'm like, why did he say this? And I think the actual saying is, the harvest is more plentiful in another man's field. And so when that hit me, you know what I started thinking about?
What's
comparison.
That?
And what do you think about comparison?
Well, it's a dangerous game, if you ask me. I mean, you can compare yourselves to, other people, and at times we might, wish we had certain things, or we were, at a different job, or had a better car, better truck, or like a better living situation. But, at the same, it's the same token. It only blinds you, as far as being thankful for what you have today,
Yeah, and so like, when I was thinking about that, I was like, man, some of us can have that mindset. Like, the grass is greener on the other side, like that comparison mindset. And the thing about that is, it robs you of your joy.
Right.
Like, you get in that mindset of like, man, if I just had what they had, or if I had their gifts, or if I knew who they knew, or maybe even on the other side, like, if I only just had that stable job that I wanted, if I only had my wife, my kids, and that house, and that dream, that vision that I always had. And we get in that place, but guess what? Like, the grass is not green there, because you ended up being stuck in the mud while you're just looking at someone else's field. But that's not what the grass is greenest. And so I don't know about you, but I have a story. When I was in school, in Bible school, my first year I was there, I saw people that were there in their second year. I'm like, man, if I just had their gifts, if I just knew who they knew, if I just knew what they knew, and it actually robbed me of my own growth. That's the thing about that mindset, is that it takes away your growth, because you just stay in place. Like I said, you're stuck in mud. So do you have any stories like that about comparison and how it kind of just brought you down?
Yeah, man, of course I do. I mean, even now I can share currently in my life, as a husband, as a father with 2 kids. There's often times I find myself looking ahead or planning ahead, or just thinking that if I had, if I was able to give them more financially, or if I was able to, have a house for them, or relocate, move to a different area, thinking, well, there's so much more opportunity, in different places. And maybe if I went there, then things would be better for us and I would be able to give them a better future and stuff. So I do, even now sometimes, question or debate with myself, like as a father, because, I want the best for my children. And I'm thinking, well, if I went here, if I did this, there might be a better, opportunity for me to give more to them. So, but in reality, God has you here where you are right now. So, we can be thankful, and we can, realize that if God has you in the situation that you're in, then he's taking care of you, so.
Man, I totally agree, man. It's crazy because we might not all admit it, but we all end up having these thoughts. And so, like, I want you guys to take a second and just evaluate yourself. Do I have that mindset? Because the reality of all this is, it's not greener on the other side. You're not going to find your joy when you get to that side. You're not going to find your fulfillment, your vision, your purpose. You're not going to find any of that on the other side. And so, be careful on that, because it's going to rob you of your joy and of your growth. But we're going to go into number 2. Number 2 is the grass is greener where you water it. Now, if you didn't know this, Joel, I looked it up. I wanted to see where it originated. It's actually kind of new. There's a song by Justin Bieber called "As Long as You Love Me."
Okay.
And on that song is featured Big Sean, and he says that actually, and on his verse. So it's kind of crazy to know that's from a pop rap R&B song.
Right.
And that's where that saying comes, and it's kind of popular nowadays. And I do agree, like, you do have to put some work in.
For sure.
But just because your grass is a little bit greener than the other person doesn't mean it's the greenest. And I know from my own experience, I can put all the effort, all the time, all the work into something.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I don't feel fulfilled. I lost my joy. And I get mad. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. Like, you put all your effort, all your time into something, and, like, you really got little return for it.
Man, well, that's a tough, sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, but, oftentimes, we strive for many different things in this life, and, it really can blind you, and you can be in a state of confusion, of not knowing which way you really need to go. But in my opinion, for the most part, when you're trusting God, he will guide you. He will lead the way. And we as humans, as men, sometimes as providers or husbands, fathers, sons, we feel like we want to take charge and pave our own road, or we think that at times we have control of our own destiny. But oftentimes at the end of the day, we put in the work, and I feel like God does bless the hard work that someone puts in. But at the end of the day, God is the one who's in control of our fate. So
and I totally agree. I mean, there's no amount of work, no matter of effort and time you can put into something and get the fullness of what you want.
Right.
Because, like, you lose your joy, you lose your sleep, you don't feel fulfilled, you feel like you still have to keep trying harder, keep going further for, like, such a little return. And the grass might be a little bit greener, but it's not the greenest. Because our goal isn't for the grass to be greener. We want to live in, like, pastures. We want to live in a green grass, like the greenest grass we can possibly. And so actually, when I was doing this, I was thinking of, like, what is a good story for this? And I actually came into the parable, the prodigal son. And I know a lot of us already know it, but I'm going to give you a little short of it. So there's his father, and he has 2 sons. Now, one son goes to his father and goes, "Hey, let me have my inheritance. Let me have everything that you owe me." And his father gives it to him. And he goes out, he has fun, he wastes all the money. He ends up living with the pigs, which at their time in their culture it's actually, like, super, super wrong, super bad. He ends up going to his father again, and his father celebrates. But at the end of the story, we get to see the other brother. And the other brother was working in the fields. And he ends up seeing his brother come back. He's like, "What is this party going on? All this stuff." And his brother actually gets upset with his dad. He's like, man, I've done everything you asked me. I'm doing all this work. And that's what I started thinking, like, that's the kind of mindset that we can have. Like, we're doing everything we asked. I'm doing everything you asked. I've done everything I need to do. But, like, I still feel no joy. He ends up being angry with his own father.
Mm.
And so recently, I've been training for a half marathon, and I run like at 5 a.m. most of the times. And I was just praying to God. And then God was like, you know where the grass is greenest? I was like, I don't know. Like, everything started coming to mind, like, oh, people say grass is green on the other side, or people say grass is green when you water. He goes, no. The grass is greener in my presence. And if you look at the story of the prodigal son, what is the one thing he did? Once he was in the presence of his father, he was actually upset with his father. He wasn't embracing his father. He wasn't doing that, and he was actually upset. And I think we have to change that mindset of ours. Like, man, I got to put all the work in. No, I got to trust my father. I got to stick in that presence. Psalm 23, 1-2. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leads me by still waters, and he lays me by green pastures. The grass is the greenest in the presence of the Lord. So what do you think about that, Joel?
Well, man, I mean, just based on my life experience, I have to totally agree with you that when you are seeking God, when you're pursuing God, when you're trusting in God, He does take care of all things for you. And you can have that peace within a storm, knowing that God is in control. And, whatever circumstances you may be going through, you can rest assured, that your faith in Him is what can get you through.
Right? And we got to all remember, God, not only is He gives us a seed. He is the sower. He gives us the water. The grass is always going to be greener in His presence. And there's a story in First Chronicles. So David was trying to bring back the Ark of Covenant. And at the time, the Ark of the Covenant is where the presence of the Lord was at. And so he was trying to take it back to Jerusalem. He ends up failing it doing that, but he leaves it at the house of Obed-Edom. He leaves it there for 3 weeks. They come back 3 weeks later. You know what happened to Obed-Edom's house?
What happened?
It was flourishing.
Flourish.
There was plants. There was fruit. It was fruitful. There was a harvest.
There's a harvest there.
And that's what we have to realize. That's, if we want joy, if we want fulfillment, if we want the grass to be the greenest in our life, it's in the presence of the Lord.
Right.
Like, there's nowhere else. There's no amount of, like I said, there's no amount of work that we can do to get it that green. And we can't keep looking at our neighbors and expecting, oh, if I'm only there, if I only had what they have, comparing ourselves to them, So it's in the presence of the Lord. And I think a practical step that we can take, and it's all of us can take, is learning how to surrender.
Full surrender.
And so number one would be take your hands off and give it to the Lord. Because when people do the grass is greener on the other side, they try to put everything in their hands instead of giving it to God's hand. I don't know about you, but I'd rather trust the Lord of Lords, the Creator, the one who has the seed, the one that has the rain, the one who waters it. I want it in His control and not mine. And number two is have trust and faith in God. In other words, stop looking to others and comparing yourself to others, and just look to God and trust God. And the final one, and I want to see what you think about this one because it's a big one, is read His Word. You want to know why? Because God, not only did He give His Word to us, but He uses that very Word to speak to us. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, for you to know God, you must, study the Word. You must be in His presence with prayer, worshiping, and Bible study, of course. These are all, key factors or components in the Christian's diet, if you will. This is the food that you must consume, if you're going to know God, if you're going to live, in His presence. Like you say, that's where the grass is greener. So these are vital. This is the nourishment that we need as Christians to be able to live in that life of fulfillment, and not try to think that you have to take everything into your hands, because at the end of the day, that how does that saying go? Life is it's a journey, Life's a journey. It's not a destination, right? So we're in this ride, and thanks be to God that we don't have to go through it alone. God sent his son, and Jesus left us with his Holy Spirit for guidance and reassurance that he will be back for us, and he will be with us until the last day, as his word has promised us. Just the words of Jesus. So, yes, man. The grass is greener in the Lord's presence. I would agree with you on that, and
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think it was just a small recap. Like, the grass is greener in the Lord's presence. We don't want to have it in our hands. We don't want to compare it to other people. Like, just like you said, like, it's not about the destination. It's the journey. It's a journey. And guess what?
Dodge journey.
It's a Dodge journey. It's a journey. And the greatest part about this journey is we can do it with God. Because of Jesus, we have the ability to have God walking with us in our every step.
That's right.
And just like the podcast, Pace of God, we learn to pace ourselves not only step by step, but with the Lord. And so, if this is encouraging or reminding or a reminder to you, make sure to, hit a like, subscribe, send it to a friend, who might need this, because a lot of times we can fall into that category of comparison or trying so hard that we end up burning up ourselves. Because at the end of the day, we want to have the grass is greenest. We want to have fulfillment. We want to have joy. And at the end of the day, we all want to seek God's presence. Thank you for joining us. Until next time. Peace.